And good to go.
Okay. My name is April Richards, and I did my presentation on parenting in prison. My client was Amy Shamblin. She's a corrections case manager for the state of West Virginia, and she spent a considerable amount of time working for Lakin Correctional Center, as well as other jails and prisons throughout the state. She's in charge of making sure the inmates on her caseload follow directions and are receiving medical treatment they may need, as well as a point of contact for the inmate. She helps the offender with any problems she might be having. And on top of general duties of a case manager, she hosts a number of counseling sessions with the inmate. She's worked with Lakin for about 4 years. Lakin Correctional Center is located 6 miles north of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It's a maximum security correctional facility which houses custody levels ranging from minimum to maximum, and it's the only female prison in the state of West Virginia. The Department of Education provides educational and vocational services for the inmate population, such as ABE, GED, life skills, business education, culinary arts, facilities maintenance, horticulture, and landscaping. The Correctional Center also houses a garment, sewing, and embroidery factory, and they manufacture inmate clothing and office chairs. The problem: a parent's bond to their children is like no other. It has many negative and positive effects on the parents and the children. Ms. Shamblin asked me to take on the task of solving this problem. How can she, as a counselor and corrections case manager, keep offenders more involved in the lives of their children, and how can she make the transition of being a mother in prison to being a full-time mother in society easier on both mother and child? The warden at Lakin Correctional Center, Lori Nell, allowed me to interview an actual inmate to better understand her side of the issue. The inmate asked that her name remain anonymous, so I refer to her as Sarah. Sarah is a 26-year-old mother of 4 children. She has a 10-year-old son, a 7-year-old daughter, and twin girls that are 10 months old. Sarah was convicted of several different charges, including drug trafficking, possession, theft, and tampering with evidence. She was sentenced to 4 years at Lakin Correctional Center with the possibility of parole after 18 months. She's been at Lakin Correctional Center for 8 months, and so far she says the hardest part of adjusting is not being able to see her children. Even before she was in legal trouble, she said that she was not very involved in the lives of her oldest children. She was 16 years old when her oldest son was born. He was raised by her mother until he was 5 years old, at which time his father filed for custody and the court awarded the custody change. She said at one point she would talk to him on the phone once in a while, but they lost touch over the years. Her 7-year-old daughter also lives with her father and has since birth. She is able to see her daughter on special occasions, but that hasn't happened for a few years. When it came time to talk about her twins, she was very emotional. She explained that they were born premature and addicted to heroin. She was a heavy drug user before and throughout her pregnancy. Due to the twin girls being born with a substantial amount of drugs in their system, they were immediately taken into custody by Children Protective Services and placed in a foster home. She has not seen or had contact with them since their birth and anticipates her rights as a parental mother will be terminated soon. She went on to explain that nearly everybody in the correctional center has children. According to Alex Rickles, 75% of the women in prison are mothers. Some mothers get to see their children during visitation days, which help the days pass by faster, and other mothers have to look at old photos and pray to be reunited with their children upon release. According to the National Resource Center for Children and Families of the Incarcerated, more than 2.7 million children in the U.S. have a parent incarcerated at any given time. Nearly 10 million children have experienced parental incarceration in their lifetime, and half of the children with incarcerated parents are under the age of 10. Most children with parents that are serving time were living with a caregiver that wasn't one of their parents before the parent was actually even incarcerated. So who is caring for these children if the parents aren't? That depends on the gender of the incarcerated parent. When the father is the incarcerated parent, the mother is the primary caregiver. However, when the mother is the one incarcerated, it's typically the grandparents who have to become the caregiver. These caregivers are left with trying to raise children that they didn't plan for. Emotionally, physically, and financially, this is all a hardship. They have to bear the stigma and shame just as the children do. Public assistance programs such as TANF were not made with these types of situations in mind. Grandparents are more reluctant to look for support and assistance for fear of losing the children to the child welfare system. Even if a grandparent tries to foster the relationship with a child and their incarcerated parent, the system doesn't make it easy. Most prisons are not accessible by any form of public transportation, which means the children must rely on the caregiver to take them to visits. In most cases, children will never visit their parents while they are incarcerated. Collect phone calls from a prison inmate can be extremely expensive. It is not something that most caregivers can afford. The effects of having a parent in prison. The effects of having a parent in prison, of a parent that is incarcerated, can have major impacts on the children. Parental incarceration increases the risk of children living in poverty and experiencing household instability. Parental incarceration is now recognized as an adverse childhood experience. It is distinguished from many other adverse childhood experiences by the special combination of trauma, shame, and stigma that comes along with it. Children in these families often end up having difficulties in school and forming attachments with their peers. This presents challenges for the communities, social workers, family members, and educators who want to support and help these children through the difficult times. This is causing more and more children to suffer from reactive attachment disorder. The Mayo Clinic explains reactive attachment disorder is a rare but serious condition in which an infant or young child doesn't establish healthy attachments with their parents or caregivers. This disorder can develop if the child's basic needs such as comfort, affection, and nurturing are not met, and loving, caring attachments are not established. Attempting to care for a child who suffers from reactive attachment disorder can be hard, but it is doable. It's still possible for children with reactive attachment disorder to develop more stable and healthy relationships with their caregivers, but a lot of positive interactions between the caregiver and the child need to happen. The child needs a stable, nurturing environment as well as possible psychological counseling for the child and the caregiver. A solution. The best solution to helping children avoid these issues with their parent is to provide both mother and child with resources to better help them. A large portion of women who give birth while incarcerated in the United States have to hand over their babies within a few hours of delivery to family, friends, or the foster care system. With nearly an 800% increase in the number of women in custody since the 1970s, births are happening very frequently. With the flood of these new issues, many correctional systems have created programs known as prison nurseries, which allow women to keep their newborn children with them behind bars. If an inmate qualifies for the program, she can keep her infant with her for a limited amount of time, usually anywhere from a month to 3 years. They live in separate housing units on the prison grounds, and mothers have to allow for this program and have to meet all the requirements. A mother cannot have any record of a violent crime or any type of history with children's services. She also cannot be serving a long sentence, usually 2 years or less. Only 8 states in the nation have prison nurseries. Mothers in the program have access to cribs, clothing, breastfeeding consultants, and anything needed to raise a child, all readily available for them within the jail. The Children's Literacy Foundation. The Children's Literacy Foundation created a program that inspires children of inmates to read more often and gives prisoners extra confidence to read to their children, even if they aren't the best readers. The Children's Literacy Foundation works with 2 prisons a year and donates books to be used in the storybook program. This program is something that a prison has to apply for, so it's not guaranteed and it only lasts a year. After the program, after a year, the program moves on to other facilities. I made it my mission to try and find a program that would last longer, not require an application and selection process, be cost efficient, and to cater to the needs of both mother and child, something that would be available to children who live too far away to visit on a regular basis. Inmate video visitation. This is not a new concept. In many of the larger prison and jail facilities, the pods and dorms are equipped with wall-mounted video system. Video visitation was designed to keep the public from having direct contact with the inmates, saving the prison time and money by not having to hire extra correctional officers to search visitors and supervise visitation. The inmate can pay for the video visitation with their commissary money. The cost of a video call is dependent on where the facility is and where they're placing the call to. Generally, it costs about $7 for a 15-minute video call. That's very expensive. Most inmates are not likely to have that much commissary money to spare. Citizens on the outside are able to set up an account and pay for the call themselves, but most households that are trying to raise a child of an incarcerated parent do not have the extra money to spare for such calls. To date, Lakin Correctional Center does not have video visitation capability. They are very expensive, usually around $5,000 per station. However, these can be funded in several different ways. The most common way to fund these stations is to use the inmate welfare funds. Chapter 831, Section 2786 of the Penal Code says that West Virginia, that says the inmate welfare fund is an existing law that requires money made from phone calls that inmates pay for be used to the benefit, education, and welfare of the inmates in prison and institutions. The law also states that these funds cannot be used for specified expenses such as paying staff overtime, repairs, athletic supplies, or recreation supplies. The code is very specific that the fund has to be used for educational programs, inmate visiting, family visiting, leisure time activities, and assistance with obtaining photo identification from the Department of Motor Vehicles. Reward system. With every solution, there are negatives or setbacks. One negative is the cost. It's very expensive for an inmate to make a video call. If they aren't able to pay for it, the caregiver of the child will have to, and that isn't always an option. This is why I thought of an award system. If an inmate cannot afford these video calls, they could be able to earn them. If they complete a program, take GED classes, have a certain amount of good behavior, or take on tours in the prison, they would all be rewarded with video visitation time. Not only will it make the inmates try harder at what they do, but it will make the children feel more important knowing that their mother had to earn video visitation. I've also suggested that 2 months before an inmate's release, if she intends to be in her children's lives, she be able to attend parenting classes, that they be educated about the effects their incarceration has had on their children, and that they learn new techniques or ways to stay involved with their children when they come home. Both of these solutions to the problem involving incarcerated parents and fostering the relationship with the children seem very possible. The warden at Lakin Correctional Center commented on how they were great ideas and that they actually have a plan in the works for video visitation, although it is still years away. She was very interested in the reward system as well. She did, however, bring up the point that there would also have to be an equal reward system for inmates who are not mothers to keep things fair and avoid any negative feedback. That must have been timed or something, because it was going by itself. Okay, question?
Very good.
So my question, my question for you is, in your research and your work or talking with your client, did you look into the idea or the issue of pregnant substance users who are incarcerated or become incarcerated?
What do you mean by look into it? Like,
So, like, have you seen any research or have any thoughts about how we help or how we address the issue of a pregnant mother who is also using drugs?
wow, like incarcerated?
Well, that leads to incarceration or that.
They end up incarcerated while they're pregnant because they're losing.
Well, like the one inmate that I had interviewed, she had just given birth like 2 months before she got incarcerated.